They crossed a line they can never erase, a young man desperate to break free from a father's iron grip, and the older man hiding in his shadow. One reckless kiss turned a quiet summer into a storm of secrets, betrayal, blackmail, and a love so forbidden it could destroy them both. When the truth came crashing through the door, fists flew, threats were made, and Jamie ran into the woods, leaving behind a broken home and two men ready to risk everything to claim him back. Will Daniel fight for the boy? He swore to protect or bury his feelings to save them both. And when Jamie's own father and a bitter ex hold the last pieces of the secret, how far will they go to drag him back under control? This is a story of raw desire, shattered trust, and the thin line between freedom and ruin. But when the dust settles, who will Jamie run to? The father he hates, the man he craves, or a future none of them can see coming? Watch now and discover how far one lie can burn. When I stepped out of that rusted bus in the middle of nowhere, the air felt like it pressed against my ribs, warning me to turn back. But I didn't. I had nowhere to go back to anyway. My name is Jamie Cole. I was 20, technically an adult, but I'd never felt more lost in my life. College hadn't fixed that. Therapy hadn't fixed that. So maybe this summer away would. Or maybe I just wanted to disappear for a while, let my head drown in someone else's world. Dad's old friend owned this cabin upstate, or house as he called it, though it looked like a forgotten hunting lodge. Dad thought working for a family friend would straighten me out, give me structure, whatever that meant. He didn't know that his perfect only son spent nights staring at photos of men he'd never have the courage to touch. Or that I'd messed around with a guy at school who ghosted me the second he realized I wanted more than a quick fix. I was supposed to help with renovations, clear out old furniture, repaint rooms simple, stay quiet, stay useful, get my act together. The only problem was the man waiting for me inside wasn't what I expected. His name was Daniel Carter. 42. He opened the door when I knocked, looking like he'd been dragged from another life hair half, silver at the temples, dark stubble shadowing his jaw, eyes so calm they made me feel like a lie in my own skin. His voice was lower than I expected. He called me Jamie like he'd known me forever, even though the last time I'd seen him I was 8, hiding behind my mom's skirt at some barbecue. "You've gotten taller," he said, leaning against the doorframe. "Yeah, people do that." I hated how defensive I sounded. He just laughed soft, the kind of laugh that said he noticed but wouldn't push. Inside, the house was bigger than I'd pictured. Open living room, dark wood floors, old stone fireplace that smelled like dust and memories. Daniel told me where my room was, that dinner would be ready in an hour if I wanted to wash up. His hand brushed my back as he passed me in the hall. Maybe it was an accident, maybe it wasn't. That first night, I lay awake listening to the floorboards creak under his footsteps. He moved quietly, but I heard him, maybe because I wanted to. I wondered what he thought of me now. If he saw the same nervous kid I was years ago, or if he noticed how my eyes traced the veins in his forearms when he rolled up his sleeves to fix a loose cabinet door. Breakfast was quiet the next day. He asked about college, my dad, if I had a girlfriend. The last word made my throat close up. I shrugged it off, changed the subject, pretended I didn't see the way his eyes lingered on my mouth when I laughed about something dumb. The work was simple enough. I pulled old sheets off furniture, boxed up old books. He gave orders but never hovered, like he trusted me not to mess it up. Still, sometimes I'd look up and catch him watching me from a doorway, half smiling. I'd pretend I didn't notice. Pretend I didn't feel my chest tightening in ways I couldn't explain. On the third evening, a summer storm rolled in, thunder echoing off the hills. The roof started leaking over the guest room I was sleeping in. Daniel knocked once before pushing the door open. His hair was wet from checking the gutters. He told me I'd have to move to the other room, the one across from his. I packed my backpack in silence, pretending it didn't matter, that I didn't care. I'd be closer to him. But when I walked past him in the hallway, our shoulders brushed. He didn't move, neither did I. For a second we just stood there, thunder rumbling above us, his breath mixing with mine. Then he stepped back, cleared his throat, told me to get some sleep. I nodded, clutching my bag like a shield, heart rattling so loud I thought he'd hear it. That night I lay awake again, closer now. The walls were thin enough that I could hear him moving, the soft creak of his bed as he turned over. I told myself this was stupid, that nothing would happen, that I was imagining it all. But I wanted him to open my door. Or maybe I wanted to open his. I didn't know which scared me more, what he'd do if I did, or what he'd say if he didn't want me at all. The next morning the storm had passed, but the air between us stayed heavy, like it hadn't found its way out with the rain. Daniel stood in the kitchen making coffee when I came downstairs. He didn't look at me right away. He just asked if I slept well. I lied, said yes, though we both knew I hadn't. He poured me a cup, black, no sugar, the same way he drank his. When our fingers brushed on the mug, I flinched like an idiot. He noticed. Neither of us said anything. We worked in separate rooms for most of the day. I scrubbed old paint off the walls in the den, while he repaired a broken railing on the porch. I tried not to look out the window every few minutes to see where he was. I failed. Every time I caught sight of his broad back bent over his work, something twisted under my ribs. At lunch he called me to the porch. We ate sandwiches in silence. He asked about my mom. I said she was fine. I didn't tell him I hadn't called her in weeks. He nodded like he understood more than I wanted him to. After lunch, he told me to help him carry old beams to the truck. We ended up side by side in the back shed, shoulders bumping as we lifted the heavy wood. At one point, the beam slipped from my grip and landed against his chest. He cursed under his breath, not really angry. His hand found my wrist, steadying me. For a heartbeat, he didn't let go. Our eyes met, that same unspoken thing pulsing between us. He released me first, told me to watch my footing. By late afternoon, sweat stuck my shirt to my back. He offered to show me how to fix a loose window frame in the upstairs office. I said sure, trying to keep my voice level. We stood close as he guided my hands over the tools, his chest nearly pressing into my shoulder. His breath tickled my ear when he spoke, low, calm, dangerous. I could barely hear the words over the sound of my own heartbeat. "You're good with your hands," he said, almost teasing. I felt the heat crawl up my neck. I laughed it off, but his eyes stayed on mine too long, like he wanted to see how much I could take. Dinner was quiet again. I washed the dishes while he dried them. Our elbows brushed once, twice. The second time, neither of us pulled away. He set the last plate on the rack and stood behind me, close enough that I could feel the warmth of him even though he didn't touch me. When I turned around, our faces were too close. His eyes dropped to my mouth just for a second. Then he stepped back, cleared his throat, and told me he'd be up late going over old papers in his study. I lay awake that night, the house too silent. I stared at the ceiling, counting the seconds until I heard his footsteps pass my door. I waited for him to knock. He didn't. I waited for myself to knock on his. I didn't. The next morning I found a note on the kitchen table. Gone to town for supplies, back by noon. I spent the morning wandering the house, pretending to clean. I found old photos in a box in the hallway closet. Daniel, younger, hair darker, standing next to my dad at a fishing trip. Another with a woman I guessed was his ex-wife, pretty, smiling, arm hooked through his. I wondered if she knew. If that's why they split. He came back earlier than I expected. I was still on the floor with the photos when the front door creaked open. He stood there, taking me in, eyes flicking from the box to my face. I half expected him to get angry, but he didn't. "Find something interesting?" he asked. "Just old memories," I said. He knelt down beside me, pulling a photo from the pile. His fingers brushed mine, warm, steady. "Some things are better left in boxes," he murmured, but he didn't pull away. He kept looking at me like he was reading a page I hadn't written yet. I don't know what came over me then. Maybe it was the quiet. Maybe it was the way his knee pressed into mine. But I didn't move when his hand landed on my shoulder, heavy and careful. I didn't move when his thumb brushed the side of my neck. I didn't even breathe when he leaned in, just a little, like he wanted to test if I'd pull back. I don't know how long we stayed there on the hallway floor, knees touching, hands too close. Maybe I was waiting for him to move first. Maybe he was waiting for me to. In the end, neither of us pulled back. His thumb brushed my jaw just once, but it was enough to set my whole chest on fire. He didn't kiss me then. Instead, he stood up and offered me his hand like I was a kid he was helping off the ground. He didn't let go right away when I stood. I felt the roughness of his palm, the faint tremor in his fingers. His eyes were darker than I'd ever seen them. He cleared his throat, said something about dinner, but his voice cracked halfway through. I pretended not to notice. Maybe we both pretended. That night he didn't come down for dinner, said he had work. I sat at the kitchen table alone, poking at cold pasta I couldn't taste. I washed the dishes, wiped the counters twice, then just stood in the middle of the kitchen, staring at the hallway that led to his study. I wanted to knock. I didn't. I went to bed instead, fully dressed, heart pounding like it knew something I didn't. I woke up to the sound of my door creaking open. I pretended to be asleep. eyes half closed, breath shallow. I heard him step inside, felt the floorboards shift under his weight. He stopped at the foot of my bed. For a second I thought he'd turn around and leave, but he didn't. The mattress dipped as he sat down. I felt his hand hover over my shoulder, then settle there, warm and careful. "Jamie," he whispered, like he was testing if I was really asleep. I didn't answer. Maybe he knew I was awake. Maybe he wanted me to be. His thumb traced a line over my shoulder blade through the fabric of my t-shirt. Slow, almost apologetic. I didn't dare move. I was afraid if I did, he'd vanish like a dream. Then he stood, just as quiet, and left. The door clicked shut behind him. I lay there for what felt like hours, my skin buzzing where he'd touched me. I knew it couldn't go on like this, the stolen moments, the half-truths. I also knew I didn't want it to stop. The next day he avoided me, gave me chores to do outside, barely looked at me when we passed in the hallway. But at night I caught him watching me from the porch while I smoked a cigarette I didn't even like. Our eyes met in the dark. Neither of us looked away. It was 3 nights later when it finally broke. I couldn't sleep again, my head full of him. I found myself standing outside his study door, fist hovering. I knocked once, barely loud enough to hear. He opened it immediately, like he'd been waiting. He didn't say anything. He stepped aside and let me in. The room smelled like old books and coffee. He sat back in his chair, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor. I stood there, hands stuffed in my pockets, heart trying to claw its way out of my chest. "You shouldn't be here," he said, voice low, tired. I know. He looked up then, and for the first time he didn't look away. "You don't understand what you're asking for." "Then explain it to me," I said. My voice didn't even sound like mine. He stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor. He crossed the room in 2 steps, stopped inches from me. His hand hovered at my jaw again. I leaned into it before he could change his mind. His fingers slid into my hair. He pressed his forehead to mine, breath shaky. "This is wrong," he murmured. "Then stop," I whispered back. But he didn't. His mouth found mine, slow at first, like he was giving me one last chance to pull back. I didn't. The first taste of him was salt and warmth, and something I'd wanted for too long. His hands were at my waist, then my back, pulling me closer. I felt him trembling and realized I was shaking too. When he pulled back, we were both breathless. He searched my face for regret. I didn't give him any. I tugged him closer instead, my hands fisting in his shirt. He groaned low in his throat. His lips found mine again, rougher this time, desperate. We didn't say another word. The next thing I knew, I was pressed against the wall, his hands under my shirt, skin on skin. He kissed me like he'd been starving. I kissed him like I'd finally learned how to breathe. When it was over, when the heat between us settled into silence, he rested his forehead on my shoulder. Neither of us said we were sorry. We didn't dare say what came next. We just stood there in the dark, breathing each other in, knowing the line we'd crossed could never be uncrossed. After that night in his study, we barely spoke the next morning, but we didn't need words. The way his eyes lingered on me said enough. The air crackled every time we passed in the hallway. We pretended we were normal, just a man and a boy working on a house. But the truth pressed under my skin like a secret I couldn't stop touching. 3 days later, the world crashed through the front door. I was in the living room, boxing up old books, when I heard a car outside, tires crunching gravel, a door slamming shut. Then a voice I hadn't heard in years, my father's voice. "Jamie, you in there?" My heart hit my ribs so hard I thought it'd break through. I looked at Daniel standing by the window, his face gone pale. He mouthed, "Stay calm," but I could see it in his eyes. He wasn't calm at all. Dad stepped inside like he owned the place, boots leaving dirt on the floor I'd just swept. He gave Daniel a quick nod, eyes cold. Then he turned that look on me, that look that had made me small my whole life. "You didn't pick up your phone," he barked. "I called your mother. She's worried sick." "What the hell are you doing up here, huh? Sleeping your days away?" Daniel stepped in before I could speak. "He's been helping. He's doing good work, John." Dad let out a sharp laugh. "Yeah, and what kind of work is that?" He looked me up and down like he could see through my clothes to every secret I'd ever tried to bury. I opened my mouth to lie, but my throat closed up. Daniel's hand brushed mine behind his back so quick Dad didn't see it, and it gave me just enough strength to speak. "It's just a summer job, Dad. You didn't have to come." Dad ignored me, eyes flicking between us. He stepped closer, invading my space. The smell of cheap aftershave and stale smoke hit me like a punch. "You think I don't know what's going on here, huh?" His voice dropped, low and poisonous. "I heard things, Jamie. You think people don't talk. You think your old man's stupid." Daniel's jaw clenched. John, that's enough. Dad turned on him. Don't you tell me what's enough. I trusted you. I let my son come here because you promised you'd fix him. Instead, you... He cut himself off, eyes burning holes through Daniel's calm mask. You're just like they said. I felt the floor tilt under me. I wanted to scream, to run, but I couldn't move. Dad jabbed a finger at my chest. You pack your shit now, we're leaving. Daniel stepped between us so fast I didn't see him move. He's not going anywhere if he doesn't want to. Dad laughed, but there was no humor in it. You think you can keep him. You think you're gonna play house with my boy and nobody's gonna know. I can ruin you, Daniel. You know that, don't you? The silence after that felt like the house itself was holding its breath. Daniel's hands were fists at his sides. I'd never seen him look at anyone like that, like he might actually throw a punch. Jamie, Dad barked again. Let's go. I shook my head. No. The word fell out before I could stop it. Dad's face twisted like I'd spit in it. What did you say? I'm not going with you. He lunged, grabbed my arm so hard I felt my bones grind. Before I could react, Daniel was there, tearing Dad's hand off me. Shoving him back so hard, he stumbled into the coffee table. Dad recovered fast, his voice a snarl. You think this ends here? You think people won't find out what you are? He spit the word like poison. You think you're gonna hide this forever? I'll make sure everyone knows. Daniel's voice was ice. Get out, John. Dad looked at me one last time, eyes full of something worse than hate disgust. You're not my son. He slammed the door so hard the windows rattled. I stood there, shaking, my arm throbbing where head grabbed me. Daniel reached for me, but I pulled back, my head spinning. Hell, tell everyone, I whispered. Daniel nodded, voice soft. Let him, but we both knew it wouldn't be that simple. Word would spread about me, about him, about what we'd done, about what we were. I wanted to run to him, to let him tell me it'd be okay. But all I saw was the wreckage at our feet, my father's shadow still choking the room. For the first time, I wondered if loving him would cost me everything. The house felt different after my father left. Every creak in the floorboards echoed like a threat. Daniel tried to act like nothing had changed, but his eyes gave him away. He barely touched me for days. He spoke in half sentences, like every word might snap the thread we were hanging by. I spent hours sitting on the porch, watching cars pass on the distant road. Everyone made my chest clench, like he might come back, or worse, someone else might. News travels fast in a town that loves to hate what it doesn't understand. I woke one night to Daniel arguing on the phone in his study. I pressed my ear to the door and heard my name. Heard my father's, heard words like scandal, lawyer, custody. I didn't even have kids, but the word made my stomach twist all the same. He was protecting me, or protecting himself. I couldn't tell anymore. The next morning, I found Daniel packing boxes in his bedroom. He didn't hear me come in, or maybe he did, and he just didn't care. I asked him what he was doing. He didn't look at me when he said, "We need to be careful. It's not safe here anymore." I wanted to scream at him. I wanted him to tell me it didn't matter what my father said, what people thought. Instead, he kept folding shirts into a suitcase like waist standing right there, heart breaking open in my chest. "So what, we run?" I asked, my voice cracked, pathetic. His jaw clenched. "It's not running, it's surviving. That's the same thing." He finally looked at me then, eyes tired, mouth pressed into a line. "You don't understand the world the way I do. Then explain it." I stepped closer, grabbed his wrist. He flinched. "That hurt worse than anything my father ever said. Explain it to me, Daniel. Explain why you can't touch me in the dark, but pretend I'm nobody in daylight." His silence was worse than yelling. He pulled his wrist free, turned his back on me. That broke something I didn't know could break again. That night, I called Caleb. I shouldn't have, but I did. I told him everything in the worst way, half truths soaked in whiskey and self-pity. I just wanted someone to say I wasn't crazy. I didn't know Caleb would use it. The next day, Caleb showed up at the house unannounced, smug grin plastered over his pretty face. He cornered me on the back porch, voice sweet and sharp at once. "So this is where you've been hiding," he said, flicking his eyes over the house like he owned it. "Sleeping with the man who signs your checks. Real classy, Jamie. Shut up." He stepped closer. "Oh, I will if you do something for me." The threat wasn't even subtle. He wanted money. He wanted a piece of my shame. He wanted to know he still had power over me. Daniel stepped out and found us like that, Caleb's finger hooked in my belt loop, my back pressed to the porch railing. He didn't say a word. He just looked at me like I was the problem, like all his fear was suddenly my fault. "Get off my property," Daniel said to Caleb, voice low and dangerous. Caleb laughed. "You think you can buy your way out of this? Small towns love dirty secrets. I'm doing you both a favor." Daniel grabbed his arm, dragged him down the steps, shoved him toward his car. Caleb turned back once, smile wicked. "Call me when you grow up, Jamie." When he was gone, Daniel turned on me. His words hit harder than any punch. "Did you tell him?" he demanded. "I didn't mean did you tell him." I nodded, throat closing up. He looked at me like he didn't know me at all. Like every touch, every whisper, every stolen moment had been a lie. "You don't get it, do you?" he hissed. "You don't understand what you've done. I needed someone, you had me." His voice cracked on that last word. For a second, he looked so small I wanted to hold him, tell him I'd fix it. But he wouldn't let me close. He turned away, fists pressed to his temples like he could squeeze the mess out of his head. "I trusted you," he said, almost to himself. "I'm sorry," but sorry was useless now. The storm was already coming, not inside us. He told me to pack my things. I asked him where I'd go. He didn't answer. He just walked back inside, the door slamming behind him like the final word in a fight I didn't want to win. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the edge of the bed I hadn't bothered making, suitcase half packed at my feet. I could hear Daniel moving through the house, footsteps on old wood, water running in the bathroom, doors creaking open and shut. It felt like the house was breathing around us, waiting to see Hod break first. At some point I heard him stop outside my door. I held my breath, hoping he'd knock. He didn't. Just stood there. I could hear his shallow breathing through the thin wood. Then silence, then footsteps retreating down the hall. I must have dozed off because the next thing I knew, sunlight was bleeding through the thin curtain. My throat ached from sleeping upright. I dragged myself to the kitchen and found him there, staring at a mug of cold coffee like it might tell him what to do next. He didn't look at me when he said, "I called your father." My stomach dropped. "What?" "I told him y'd be leaving tomorrow. He said he'd come get you." I laughed bitter, ugly. "So that's it. You're sending me back to him." Daniel finally looked up, eyes bloodshot. "It's better than this." "Better than what, us?" He winced at that word, us, like it was poison in his mouth. He stood so fast his chair scraped back against the floor. "Don't do that," he said. "Don't make this something it's not." I stepped closer. "Then what is it, Daniel? Tell me. What the hell was all of this?" He didn't answer. He just turned away, gripping the edge of the counter like it was the only thing holding him up. I wanted to hit him. I wanted to kiss him. Maybe I wanted both. "You think this goes away if you ship me off?" I said. "You think you'll forget?" His shoulders tensed. He didn't turn around. "You'll move on. You'll find someone your own age. Someone who isn't what?" I pushed. He spun on me so fast I almost stumbled back. His eyes were wild, voice breaking. "Someone who isn't a coward." The word hung there, raw and real. I saw him then, all of him. Not the calm man Hod given me chores and halves, Miles. Just a man terrified of himself, of me, of what we'd done. I didn't think. I stepped in, grabbed his face in my hands. He didn't fight me this time. His mouth crashed into mine like an apology and a punishment all at once. It wasn't gentle, it was teeth and salt and breathless gasps. His hands clutched my hips, hauling me closer like he wanted to erase the space the lies had built between us. We stumbled backward into the hallway, bumping into walls, doors, anything that got in the way. He pressed me against the wall, forehead against mine, both of us panting. "I hate you for this," he whispered against my mouth. "I know," I breathed. "Do it anyway." His laugh was broken, low in his throat. He kissed me again, softer this time, like he was trying to memorize the shape of my mouth. His hands slid under my shirt, palms flat against my back, fingers trembling. We didn't speak. Words were useless now. Everything we needed to say lived in the drag of his mouth over my jaw, the bite of his teeth on my shoulder. The way he whispered my name like it was both a prayer and a curse. When we finally broke apart, I could feel my pulse everywhere. He pressed his forehead to mine, eyes shut tight. "This doesn't fix it," he murmured. "I don't care." He let out a shaky breath. "You will." I didn't want to think about later, about my father's car pulling up the drive, about Daniel going back to pretending. Right then, there was only us. His hands, my breath, the small desperate sounds that spilled out when I didn't know how else to hold on. We sank to the floor right there in the hallway, backs pressed to the wall, legs tangled. He kissed me again, slower, like he was giving me something he'd never given anyone else. Maybe he was. When it was over, we stayed there, silent. His arm draped over my shoulder, my head resting in the curve of his neck. I wanted to freeze time, to leave inside that moment where none of it could touch us, not my father, not Caleb, not the world waiting to eat us alive. But time doesn't freeze, it only moves forward, dragging you with it, whether you're ready or not. He pulled back first, stood up, offered me his hand like he had that first day. I took it, even though I knew it was goodbye in disguise. "Tomorrow," he said, voice raw, "I'll put you on that bus myself." I didn't answer. I just looked at him, memorizing every line in his tired face, every lie we'd told ourselves carved deep in the shadows under his eyes. I didn't sleep the night before he planned to send me back. I lay there staring at the ceiling, replaying every second the first touch, the first lie, the first time I let myself believe any of this could last. I counted down the hours until morning like I was waiting for an execution. At dawn, I packed what little I had clothes, a sketchbook, the mug he gave me my first day here. The mug was cracked now. Maybe that was fitting. Maybe we both were. Daniel didn't knock. He just stood in the doorway, watching me zip my bag shut. He didn't say good morning. He didn't say sorry. He just said it's time. The bus stop was 20 miles out. He drove in silence, knuckles white on the wheel. I stared out the window at the endless trees, wondering if I'd ever see them again. Wondering if I'd even want to. Halfway there, he pulled over on a dirt road that led nowhere. He killed the engine but didn't move. I waited, heartbeat drilling a hole through my chest. Finally he spoke. "There's a part of me that wants to keep you here. Lock the door, pretend none of this matters. Then why don't you?" He looked at me then, really looked like he was memorizing my face for when the guilt woke him up at 3 a.m. "Because it does matter, and if I keep you, it destroys you. Maybe I don't care, you should." His hand found mine on the seat between us. Just our fingers touching. 1,000 unsaid words in that small space. We sat there like that, frozen in a moment that couldn't hold us much longer. Then my phone buzzed. A single message from Caleb. "Check your email." I opened it. My breath caught in my throat. Attached was a single photo, grainy, taken through a window. Me and Daniel pressed against the study wall, mouths on each other. The subject line, "Worth every secret." Daniel saw my face and knew. He grabbed my phone, read it, cursed under his breath. He punched the dashboard so hard I thought he'd break his hand. He said he wouldn't. I started. He lied. Of course he lied. Daniel's voice cracked. "He's going to ruin you. He's going to ruin." He stopped. He didn't say us. Maybe he knew the word never fit. Then headlights appeared behind us. Another car pulling up, blocking the road. My father's truck. I saw the shape of him step out, slammed the door so loud it echoed through the trees. Daniel's eyes met mine. "Stay in the car." "Don't, Jamie." I ignored him. I threw the door open, stepped out before he could stop me. My father's boots crunched the gravel like thunder. "You think you can hide from me?" he barked. "You think I'm just gonna let you embarrass this family?" He looked at Daniel. "And you sick piece of don't," I cut in. My voice was shaking, but I didn't care. "This is my life, your life." He laughed, ugly and sharp. "You don't have a life without my name on it, without my money. You think you're free. You're nothing." He moved toward me. Daniel stepped between us so fast I didn't see it happen. For a second I thought they'd fight right there. But my father just smiled, cold, cruel, like head already won. "I can bury you both," he said. "One word and everyone knows. You'll lose your job, your house, your name, and you—" He jabbed a finger at me. "You'll come crawling back when he throws you out." I felt Daniel's hand on my back. Steadying me, or steadying himself, maybe both. "Then do it," I said. My own voice startled me. "Tell whoever you want. I'm not going back with you." He stared at me, rage burning through his teeth. "You think he'll keep you? He's a coward, Jamie. He'll sell you out the second it gets hard." Daniel flinched behind me. He knew it was true. Maybe I did too. My father stepped closer. "Get in the truck." I didn't move. Daniel's fingers dug into my shoulder like he was trying to keep me from flying apart. Then, out of nowhere, Daniel spoke, voice low but clear. "He's not leaving with you." My father laughed. "Or what?" Daniel's hand dropped from my shoulder. He stepped forward, close enough their noses almost touched. "Or you'll have to drag him over my body." The road went dead silent. Even the birds stopped. My father's eyes flicked to me, daring me to choose. I looked at Daniel. His jaw was tight, his eyes soft in a way that killed me. Behind him, the road out twisted into forest. Escape or ruin both right there, waiting. A horn blared behind us. Caleb's car had come to watch the show. 3 roads, 3 men, 1 choice. I took a step back. My father's arm shot out to grab me. Daniel's fist caught him before he could touch me, knuckles splitting open on my father's cheek. My father staggered. Daniel looked at me, eyes wide, breathing hard. "Jamie," he started, but I was already turning. Running, past Caleb's idling car, past the trees, deeper into nowhere. I heard them shouting my name, but I didn't look back. I didn't know where I was going, only that it was mine. And maybe, just maybe, I'd decide who I'd come back for.